Let's get into the main topic of the day, a missing link in India's mineral mission. So it's basically talking about our entire mineral exploration and refining processing paradigm. So this article is written in the backdrop of a recent approval by the cabinet of a mission worth almost 7,280 crores. This is a to manufacture rare earth permanent magnets, right? So the Indian central government cabinet has approved a mission worth 7,280 crores to manufacture permanent rare earth magnets in order to cut our resilience from other countries. So this rare earth magnets are used in electrical vehicles, aerospace technology, aerospace industry, and as well as defense industry. Now why this mission is important? Because the government says by 2030 we will be doubling our consumption of this particular magnets, right? And at this point of time, most of our demands, in fact almost entirety of our demands are met through imports. And the next thing is that at this point of time we are very heavily reliant on China. And in October 2025, when there was a trade war going on between US and China with regard to tariffs, China has imposed sort of export controls in the name of national security, and these export controls imposed by China in name of national security, China can weaponize supply chains in the future against any country in order to arm twist that country to toe its line, right? So weaponization of supply chains by China in name of export controls is also another reason to reduce import dependency and maintain our own manufacturing capabilities of this very important permanent rare earth magnets. Now, so what is basically this editorial is talking here about is that in India, through Mines and Minerals Amendment Act, we have reformed our exploration regime, right? We have done national level auctions, we have done exploration licenses and all these things. So we have reformed our mining exploration regime, but even now whatever the mineral ores we are mining or not doing any processing or India does not do any value addition to this. So what is happening is there is no large scale processing. So we are basically mining raw minerals and exporting it. So as with food processing, anything that is being processed will add value way too much, right? One orange or one banana or one apple will cost you 30-40 rupees, whereas the same orange juice, even half apple with lot of sugar will cost you more than that. The same thing it goes with minerals also. So we are not doing any large scale value addition, and this is akin to having exporting our prosperity, right? So but this will not help us process. So now what is the point of all this is that the world is entering into a phase where high purity metals are very important for semiconductors, electrical vehicles, and we are in a race of AI. Right, yesterday or today there was an article which says that there is an AI chip shortage because the advancements in software is not keeping up. See, the advancements in hardware is not keeping up with the advancements in software, right? So there is a perpetual demand supply gap of AI chips. There is a more demand for AI chips and less supply in the market, and this includes even small memory chips also, like your hard drives, pen drives, etc. And all these things, and the semiconductors, the GPUs, TSUs, everything, tensor processing, TPUs, sorry, everything requires high purity materials, and we are not producing these high purity materials. Now let's have a look at a global scenario of this. China, as we said, controls over 90% of rare earth and graphite refining, and Beijing has very well weaponized this supply chains. Recently there was an agreement between US Japan and US Australia right, a critical minerals framework. Now this framework also says that the financing that the companies or the companies receive in order to mine this thing will be directly tied to local refining. That means these frameworks have localized supply chains in order to avoid dependence on China, right. So this is the global scenario that is happening right now. Whereas what is Indian scenario happening? India already mines 7 critical minerals like copper, graphite, silicon, tin, titanium, etc. However, our refining lacks capacity in scale as well as quantity. We are refining graphite at 92 to 95%, 92 to 99%, whereas the graphite for batteries require purity is 99.9%, right. Rare earths are processed into oxides but not into metals. Only once the rare earths are processed into metals, only then we can have required magnets. And the same thing is India's tin production is barely meeting even 1% of our demand. So all in all, we are having adequate abundance of 7 critical minerals, but we lack extremely in the processing capacity. So what is the solution or remedy for this? The article gives us 5 solutions for this to overcome our processing problems and make India a processing hub of rare earth minerals. Now one of this first thing is that turning centers of excellence into innovation engines. Under National Critical Minerals Mission, we have established 9 centers of excellence, right. So this article says this centers of excellence should be turned into innovation engines which will drive research and development into new novel processing technologies. It also sees utilization of existing IITs, NITs and the private industry and make an entire ecosystem out of this, which will ensure that we are processing for required scale as well as for the quality. The next thing is that the unlock secondary resource potential to recover from critical minerals. For example, India produces 250 million tons of fly ash, and this fly ash has traces of rare and as well as heavy earth minerals, right. We also, the red color mud from aluminium production contains lot of gallium, and zinc has cobalt traces. So we have to develop technologies to recover critical minerals from this secondary sources, right. That is the another thing. The next part the article says is that training and upskilling of new generation of process metallurgy. See, at this point of time, the metallurgists India are very skilled in pyrometallurgy, that is using fire, whereas the rare earth minerals processing requires hydrometallurgy and other advanced technologies, and we should train and upskill our new generation of human resources in this hydrometallurgical processes, and also have internship positions in say CSIR laboratories and other PSUs like Vedanta, right, all these places where this high end technology research can be carried out and also this personnel can be trained. And the next thing is de-risk investment through demand assurance and financing tools. See, what happens is that the global rare earth market is artificially inflated or deflated in order by some countries in order to ensure there are no new entrants into the market, right. So one way we can de-risk the investment is by say linking or providing some kind of buyback. For example, US has this policy where it buybacks from the private players, and it will give money to the private players, and it will keep the stock with it, and whenever there is a demand surges in the market, it will release whatever stock it is having into the global market, thereby earning the money back. So India also can follow the same mechanism, just like our MSP wala thing. And the next thing is that linking mineral diplomacy to processing capacity. Right now, see Khanish Bidesh Limited and other PSUs through this. We have exploration capacity for mines in Argentina, Zambia, etc. But we are here also again exploring the mines and extracting the ores but not processing, whereas the real power lies in processing. So, India has to consistently display a capability for mining whatever the 7 critical minerals we already have with ourselves. After consistency displaying that we are capable of doing this, the future diplomatic agreements should not be from buyer seller perspective, but from a co-investment perspective. That means we will invest in technologies, or you invest in technologies for helping us processing more, so that we can improve our processing capacities. So, these are 5 steps that the article has given us to ensure that our entire mineral ecosystem is boosted, right. See, the article ends by saying control over processing equals control over power. That is what happened in the US-China trade war. Because of the export controls of rare earth minerals, Trump has to back down, right. The question is no longer whether we have enough mines, but whether we can master the stage that turns ores into usable minerals, right. This is a article, right. Let us get to the last topic of the day. This is about an article by Montek Singh Ahluwalia and Utkarsh Patel. It is talking about the NDCs that we are about to submit. India in 2015 has submitted NDCs as per the Paris Climate Agreement up to the period of 2030. Now that the 2030 period is about to be finished, we need to submit a second round of NDCs covering period up to 2035. Our first NDCs talks about reducing the emissions intensity to 33 to 35% from 2005 level by 2030. The second NDC is to achieve 40% share of non-fossil fuel resources in electricity generation. But we have been overachievers in this regard, and we have already completed this target by 2023 itself. We are supposed to complete by 2030, and we have already completed this in 2023 itself. So, in 2022 August, when we realized that we are about to finish this target very early, we have submitted our revised NDCs, which says that the GDP intensity will be reduced to 45%. Initially it was 33 to 35%, and we have reduced it to 33%. Now in the revised NDCs we are saying we will achieve this by 45%. And the non-fossil power enhanced by 50%. Initially we said we will do it at 40%, but we have already achieved 43%. Now we are saying that we will achieve 50% by 2030. So now we have to submit new set of NDCs, and this article covers what should be the agenda of this new set of NDCs and what should we be covering. The first thing is we should set a higher target for reducing emission intensity. See, our initial target was 33 to 35% from 2005 level, which we have already achieved, and then we submitted a revised NDC saying that we will reduce by 45%. Now that we will achieve that also, we should, article argues, we should set it at 65% from 2005 levels, because India is on an average growing 7.6% per annum, and for a growing economy our GDP intensity emissions will rise, and the article says our GDP emissions will peak by 2035 and then will start reducing. So we should also announce when our GDP emissions will peak. This will be, or this will create a more transparent scenario for the global community, and it will also take away the blame that India is one of the largest emitter of these pollutants, right. So it is saying that our target should be 65%, and we should also achieve our, when we will peak the emissions. The next thing is that non-fossil based power generation capacity aims to raise share to 80% by 2035. Already we are at almost 50%, and it is asking us to raise this share by 80%, and this is mostly involving in the solar and wind power energy. The next target is, the third point it says is that the NDC should also explicitly include target for phasing down unabated coal based generation. See, if we have to achieve net zero emissions by 2070, that is our target, net zero emissions by 2070, if we have to achieve that, then it also means that thermal power generation by coal has to be phased out completely, right. So our NDC should very clearly state that our thermal power production will peak by 2035, and after that it will slowly start reducing. For us, in order to achieve net zero by 2070 and peak by 2035, the article says that no new coal power plant should be commissioned after 2030, right. And the next thing is electrification of major sectors is an important part. So, we have already electrified 99% of our railway track, and we are seeing increasing number of electric buses in the public transportation. 50% of the two wheelers are sold or electric vehicles, electric cars or sale is also increasing. But even though 99% of the track is electrified, only 90% of the transport is based upon this electric track. So, there are still 10%, especially freight trains and cargo trains using diesel engines, and this has to be completely phased out. And also we should increase the percentage of electric buses and other electric mobility options in the public sector, right. Carbon credit trading scheme should be included in our NDCs. This scheme will be coming into play, and it says that the carbon credit scheme should be included in our NDCs, and we should say that we will observe the performance of the scheme for first 2 years, and then we will make the changes that are required in the scheme. It also says that the sectors that are excluded from this carbon credit and trading scheme, like power sector, MSMEs, should also be included in this sector, and that should be communicated through our NDCs. Next, it also says that we should have a basic reforms in electricity pricing. We should move away from a fixed model pricing, and we should move away from a fixed model pricing. We should move away from a fixed day pricing to time of the day pricing. See, the basic concept is, if we are increasing the share of renewables in the electricity like solar and wind, etc., there will always going to be a problem of intermittency, right, intermittency, in the sense that all this power is not available throughout the day. So, on the times where this power is available, like in the morning times, the price or the unit price can be low, and in the night times where this power is not available and we have to use the power that we have stored in the storage systems, then the unit price can be increased. Right now we are not having that system. We are having a flat rate system of 5 rupees per unit or 6 rupees per unit. We have to change that from time of the day pricing. That is what this article says. And the next thing is proposed expansion in renewable energy storage. So, now it is saying that we have to add an additional grid, we have to add additional storage, we have to add additional pumping units, all these things in order to ensure that the renewable energy that we have increased in electricity share is circulated and distributed to the people properly. So, in order to do that, we need additional investment. The article estimates that we need approximately 62 billion rupees per annum in the next 10 years in order to ensure that our grid is maintained adequately and our storage capacities are not hampered. And the article says that 80% of this should come from domestic investments and 20% should come from international investments. So, basically it has given us a 7-step plan of what our NDCs should look like, the NDCs that we are going to submit to the UNFCCC for the 2031 to 2035 period, right. This concludes our today's news analysis. We will see you tomorrow. Good day.